Today we're going to be talking about how to actually heal our pain. The other day we talked about victim mentality and mindset and how that keeps us trapped, right? When we're pointing fingers and we're blaming and we're ceding our power to these events and these people that might have done things to us or life happened to us in a way that we would never wish upon other people. And we talked about that in depth. If you haven't watched that video, I'd highly suggest that you go check that one out. But what we want to do together today is acknowledge, okay, yes, that I have taken responsibility for my life and how it is now and the good things that have happened and the indifferent things that have happened and the bad things that have happened. I've taken 100% responsibility. Now what, right? And the now what part of the conversation is, how do I actually go about this process of healing pain? Whether it be physical pain, whether it be emotional pain, whether it be spiritual pain, whether it be mental pain, right? How do we go about doing that? Because these events that happened, yes, we can take 100% responsibility in terms of I'm not tolerating the behavior that happened in the past, but I'm taking responsibility for where my life is now. We can take that responsibility, but we have to have the skills and tools to work with our pain in order to dissolve it as time goes on. And so that's what I wanted to talk to you about today, kind of as a follow-up to that video, because this is very important, just talking tactically about how to work with pain. When you get a cut on your finger, right, what is the first thing that you do? You clean it. You put Neosporin or some sort of ointment on it, and you put a Band-Aid on it, and in time it heals. We don't judge it. We don't create stories about ourselves that we're not worthy because we got a cut on our finger. We don't hate it. We don't get angry at it. We don't cut it back open, right? We care for it. And this is the mentality that I want to talk to you about today, which is with our pain, one of the things that tends to happen when there are events in life that are not very favorable, to say the least, is that our inner critic, something that we've talked about very frequently in this group, our inner critic starts to get a hold of us and starts to create a story about the event that happened to us. That story can be very toxic. And that's why I did the video the other day about really victim mindset. That is really rooted in the inner critic, which is full of fear and blame and doubt and worry on all of those things, right? So you can reference that if you want to watch it in full. But we have to step outside of that story from the inner critic, the inner judgment, and make that big shift from judgment to compassion, right? 180 degrees. So when we have physical pain, right, whether it's a cut on your hand or you're hurting somewhere, we honor that through compassion. Compassion in terms of what would a practice of love be towards my body if it's really hurting? Rest, right? Recovery. If you have that cut on that finger, I'm going to give it care. I'm going to give it ointment. I'm going to heal it. I'm going to put a Band-Aid on it. I'm going to love it. I'm not going to hate it. But we don't do this with the rest of our life. So I'm going to give you a couple analogies to work with, right? The cut on the hand is just one. But what we also want to think about is, okay, so if an injured puppy walked up to your front door, you opened up your front door, right? And you just go, oh my gosh, there's an injured puppy. It's whimpering. It's on the floor, right? It can hardly walk. It's looking really down and maybe sick and hurt. What do you do in that moment? Do you yell at it? Do you kick it? Do you hate it? No, of course not, right? That would be totally non-compassionate, and it would be very far outside of what you would probably do. Okay, what would you do? You would nourish it. You would take care of it. You would feed it. You would let it rest. You would love it. You would give it happy thoughts, right? You would give it all of the care that it needed so it would be able to recover back to a place or be able to move on, right? That might take a few days. That might take a week. Who knows? 6 months? Who knows? It just depends on what condition the puppy was in. The things that happen to people in this life, they can range from to absolutely terrible and tragic. And because of the difference in scale, you also have to be able to give yourself what you need. based upon the severity of what happened, right? There's a really big difference between cutting your finger by accident and tearing a quad muscle, right? It's going to be hugely different. So if we have this approach, we understand that if there is something severe that has happened to us, or even just really bad, that our healing process is going to take some time, but what will make it never heal is applying judgment to it. Think of judgment as just picking the scab off of something that's trying to heal. It never heals if you continue to pick that scab. So what we want to do is we want to apply compassion, right? Which is care, which is love, which is nurturing yourself instead of constantly breaking yourself down. And one part of that is making sure that you're mentally and emotionally not breaking yourself down during this healing process. Okay, moving on to the next analogy. And I use this one quite often when I'm working with people one-on-one. The next analogy to work with is a bath bomb, right? An Epsom salt bomb. More women probably are familiar with this, but an Epsom salt bomb, okay? And so what these little bath bombs do is when they are out of the water, they are incredibly hard, right? You could probably throw it through a window and it would shatter the window or put a dent in a car or something like that. If we think of our pain like an Epsom salt bath bomb, right? This hard thing, if we stuff it down, it's just this knot of pain in us, something that hasn't been addressed. And the more and more and more you judge it, imagine it gets harder and harder and harder and harder and harder. Okay? Now, when we throw that Epsom salt bath bomb into water, what happens? I forgot to get one at the store. I was actually going to show this to you so you could see, so you could have the image, but we'll work with it now. So the Epsom salt bath bomb that was like this begins to break up and starts to fizz, right? You can see it running around all of the water fizzing in different places as it breaks apart. And then eventually, as time goes on, that bath bomb that was hard as a rock becomes water. Just pure water, that's it. Now, what's the water? Love, care, affection, compassion, kindness, grace, right? All down to its root, the water in the bathtub is love. And if you can apply love to the pain that you have, whether it's you loving yourself or reaching out to your community and allowing your community to love you, or your family or your closest friends, if you can apply that, that pain begins to break up. Some people like to go work with healers or coaches or therapists, right? This is okay. What these people are here to do for you is to teach you how to apply love and compassion and remove judgment from the equation, okay? When you remove judgment from the equation, when you stop judging yourself so much and you start applying love to the areas that really need it, that pain begins to fizzle and then becomes in water. My own healer that I work with said something that confused me for a very, 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 very long time until I finally figured it out. She said, there is only love and love becoming. And I didn't get it for a very long time because I was judging areas of my life that had a lot of pain in them. But I realized in using this reference, that Epsom salt bomb, while it is not pure love yet, it is something that is going to become love if you apply love to it. If you throw it into the water, it will begin to fizzle. So, I hope these analogies make sense, right? You could always ask me in the comment section below. If they don't, I'll explain a little bit further. But now we're going to move on to the next piece of the practice. So you understand the concept, right? Of how do I begin to work with my pain? Okay, more compassion, more love, more kindness. And one of the ways that I'm going to get you there the quickest is I'm going to give you a self-awareness practice. And the self-awareness practice is, what is the most loving thing, the most loving action I can take towards this area X, right? Fill in the blank. That might be old relationship pain from the past. It might be body pain. It might be health pain, right? Something. What is the most loving thing, the most caring action I can take in regards to this specific area. That might be taking a rest day. That might be, I'm going to go seek out some help and I'm going to talk to somebody so I can work through this. That might be eating healthier one day. Whatever it might be, this is for you to decide. And when you decide what that is, when you consult with your inner wisdom, actually do it, right? It's a big part of healing, actually listening to yourself and doing it. If it's meditation, wonderful. If it's health, wonderful. Whatever it might be, practice, practice, practice. The path of healing takes time, but I can guarantee you that if you don't take that path, you will never heal that bath bomb that's just sitting there somewhere, right? Somewhere in your life, there's unaddressed issues that are just sitting there waiting to release themselves so you can be free from them. And part of taking on this mindset of acceptance, but 100% ownership, is really about owning that situation, owning that pain, not avoiding it, and allowing yourself to move forward, to end the story of neglect, and to begin a new story of ownership and healing. Okay? So I've been trying to keep these videos around 10 to 15 minutes a piece because I understand that these concepts, while you could probably go on for 30 to 40 minutes to an hour, I'm trying to keep them as simple, as punctual, but also powerful so you can really get what you need and begin to move forward and implement these things. But I'm also trying to frame them in a way where you get to decide, right? I'm not trying to just give you the fish. I want you to learn how to fish. Okay, so you can, with any pain in your life, begin to address it with compassion. That is a skill that will serve you for the rest of your life, not just one answer to one problem, okay? So begin to address these things and just pick one point at a time, right? And you can start with small things and then work your way up to bigger things. And if you need any help, please reach out. But the path to healing, right, is through compassion, is through giving ourselves consistently what we need, and just trust that that bath bomb will fizz as time goes on, and then there is just love, okay? All right, let me know if you have any questions.